Well, let's bring in Dr Imtiaz Sooliman now. He's the founder of Gift of the Givers, a disaster response organisation. He joins us now from Cape Town in South Africa. Welcome to the program, Doctor. Your team has been on the ground in Gaza for almost a decade now. Tell us what they've been reporting back to you as Israel continues to attack the enclave.
Good evening. We've been there since 2014 on a permanent basis. We've intervened in 2009. We've done projects after that. But from 2014, we've been there permanently. What's significant is the language they're using. They're saying it's mayhem here. There's an absolute massacre. It's genocide. We are afraid for ourselves. We are afraid for our families. We tell them, move your families to safer ground. And they ask us, what is safe? There's no safe place in Gaza. There's bombs everywhere. They've targeted civilian buildings. 370 families are wiped out from the face of the earth. They don't exist anymore. They've hit 15 hospitals. They've hit mosques. They've hit 48 schools. They've used white phosphorus. I said, are you sure? They said, we've seen it, and we've got the smell of phosphorus around the schools. They've cut off electricity. They've cut off water. They've cut off food. The hospitals are teeming with patients. We're trying to deliver supplies, but the roads are totally damaged. It's very difficult to move around. The bombs are frightening. Children are terrified. People are terrified. We've had bombing in Gaza before. It's never been like this ever in our history, where so many bombs fell in a short space of time in so many areas. We're trapped. We can't go out of any border, but we try to serve. And they've been buying supplies, getting to different areas, and I can talk about that if you want. But the biggest issue is that the bombing is just horrific and they can't move anywhere. Then they said, we are told to move from the north to the south in 24 hours. How is that even possible? It's an irrational request. It's unreasonable. How are you going to move 1.1 million people when there's no fuel, no cars, no proper road, bombing all the place? Where do they stay? Where do they go to? They want us to move the patients from the hospital. Who in their right mind allows a sick patient on ICU, on life support, to be moved? And they took a decision that they decided they'd rather stay there and be slaughtered. And the doctors and the healthcare workers said, we'd stay with the patients, we'd rather be slaughtered. Enough is enough. We can't live like this anymore.
Well, that's right. Despite Israeli officials telling Gazans in the north to move to the south, it seems that Israeli forces are now attacking southern cities like Khan Yunis. Meantime, officials in Gaza say the death toll has risen to 3,000, with more than 12,500 injured. But the wounded are now at risk of dying themselves as hospitals in Gaza face a complete blackout and essential supplies run out. Just how dire is the situation for health facilities in Gaza right now, and how much longer can they continue to look after the injured?
I'm actually surprised they've survived so long, to be honest. I thought it'll be finished for the last few days. And I know there's some kind of miracle taking place there. Yes, you're right. There's another problem besides the wounded in hospital. They'll die because there's no life support. There's no electricity. Today they made a call. My team said, they need fuel. So I said, tell people to take it out of their cars. And they said, we're already doing that. We're taking out whatever fuel we can get from the cars to run it to the hospitals to save generators. Because 4 hospitals have been completely destroyed, the volume of patients then floods the other hospitals. There's many more people required and more patients in other hospitals. So there's 3 major problems. One is the hospitals, because there's not enough antibiotics, infection can spread within the hospital environment. Number 2, you have a problem of sewage plants not functional. So because there's no electricity and they're not on solar. If that happens, infection gets into the water, there's a danger of waterborne disease. Thirdly, the numbers that you got are the numbers of people they've recovered. There's many more hundreds, if not thousands, caught up under rubble because buildings have completely been flattened. So there's people trapped under rubble. We're not sure where they're alive. We know many of them are dead. And those people, if you don't get to them, the decomposition that will take place is going to affect water services. So you're going to get waterborne infection from decomposing bodies, from non-functional sewage plants, and you're going to get hospital infection from infected people. And in addition to that, if there's not enough medical components, to intravenous fluids, other items required, they would die in hospital. And when electricity goes off, there's going to be a problem that the life support systems will fall apart. So yes, the chances are those with severe illness many will die, severe injuries, many of them will die in the hospitals. And to answer the other question, there's just not enough supplies. They sent us a list today of the items required, but with all the money in the world, you can't get it in. We were told yesterday there's a ceasefire taking place for 5 hours. There was no such ceasefire. As trucks came towards the border, they were shot at. So nothing is moving in and nothing is moving out.
That's right. That's what I wanted to ask you about, actually, Doctor, because we understand that your charity is looking to send aid into Gaza, but that depends on whether or not the Rafah border crossing between Egypt and Gaza will actually open. There was a lot of hope that it would have been opened on Monday, but that doesn't seem to have happened. What are you hearing about that situation, and how important is it that this crossing is eventually opened to allow aid supplies to get in?
It's a war crime. What else can you say? You can't prevent people from access, from health, cutting off water, electricity, fuel, all life saving. That's a war crime. That's a coward's way of fighting. You don't fight wars like that. You fight like men. The soldiers, generals respect each other. That's not the way to fight. And civilian people haven't done anything to you. And to answer your question, I had engagements with the Egyptian ambassador yesterday. He was very, very supportive. And he said, look, it's not in our hand. From our side, the border is open, but we can't control the other side of the border if the bombs fall. We make a strong case to say this cannot be acceptable. It has to stop. We're engaging with other countries. All the Arab states have made it clear. These are his words to me. I haven't spoken to Arab states. But the only Arab I spoke to was the Egyptian ambassador. And he said, we made it clear that no Gazans will be allowed into Sinai. We're not going to allow them to empty the city, the country of the population. This ethnic cleansing. They will stay inside, but we will support. He said, look how urgent it is for you to send aid. I said, I can wait because we're buying items inside. It's not enough. But there's hundreds of trucks on the border. Rather let them go in first and we can come afterwards. We can send a plane load of stuff. We can buy it in Cairo. We can send it up. But there's already aid there which is getting stranded. If there is, items that will perishable items, it's going to get damaged and destroyed. So let those trucks go in first. Then I moved to my government. I spoke to my international relations minister. The government is fully behind us. And we spoke to the Director General and an entire team in our Foreign Office. And they're putting together support. They're speaking to the UN, they're speaking to the European Union, they're speaking to the US, they're speaking to individual countries to see collectively in different countries who want to put pressure that the bombing has to stop and the border has to open. I think we should start seeing movement towards that, where the border will start open, because there's no way the world protest is going to allow this to continue the way it's continuing right now.
Okay, Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman, we will have to leave it there, but all the very best for you and your team on the ground in Gaza. And thank you so much for sparing some time to join us on the program.